following about the Khazars. Khazars, a national group of general Turkic type, independent and sovereign in Eastern Europe between the 7th and 10th centuries AD. During part of that time, the leading Khazars professed Judaism. That's in the Encyclopedia Judaic, Volume 10, 1971. You can research everything. And that's what I say. I want you to research everything and research the researcher. I'm not here to convert nobody to nothing. I'm here to challenge you to research and study so you can stand on your square. The Academic American Encyclopedia, the Deluxe Library Edition, Volume 12, page 66 states, and I quote Moors, the Khazars, a Turkic people, created a commercial and political empire. They dominated the substantial parts of South Russia during much of the 7th through 10th century. During the 8th century, the Khazars artist group, or their Kagan, or their king, was converted to Judaism, Moors. The New Encyclopedia Britannica, Volume 6, page 836 relates. Write this down. I'm giving it to you so you can stand on your square, so you can research this for yourself. Khazar, member of a confederate of Turkish-speaking tribe that in the late 6th century AD established a major commercial empire covering the southeastern section of modern Europe, Russia, of modern European Russia. But the most striking characteristic of the Khazars was the apparent adoption of Judaism by the Kagan, which is the king, and the greater part of the ruling class in about 740. The fact itself, however, is undisputed and unparalleled in the history of Central Eurasia. A few scholars have asserted, Moors, that the Judaized Khazars were the remote ancestors of many of the Jews of Eastern Europe and Russia, Moors. Get your pens, research this. Collier's Encyclopedia, Volume 14, page 65. It states, and I quote, Khazars, a semi-nomadic tribe of Turkish or Tatar, T-A-T-A-R origin, who first appeared north of the Caucasus in the early part of the 3rd century. In the 8th century, Kagan Bulgan decided in favor of the Jews and accepted Judaism for himself and for his people, Moors. Research the New Catholic Encyclopedia, Volume 8, page 173. And it says, the Khazars were the ethnic group belonging to the Turkic people who toward the end of the 2nd century, Moors, who at the end of the 2nd century of the Christian era had settled in the region between the Caucasus and the lower Volga and the Don rivers at the beginning of the 8th dynasty. You see? Or the 8th century. Dynastic ties bound the Khazars more closely to Constantinople, which led to a limited spread of Christianity among them. They also became acquainted with Judaism from the numerous Jews who lived in a Crimea along the Bosphorus. When the Byzantine Emperor Leo the Isaurian persecuted the Jews in AD 723, many Jews found refuge in Khazar kingdom, and their influence was so great that around the middle of the 8th century, Moors, the king of the Khazars and many of the Khazar nobility accepted the Jewish faith, Moors. Get your pens. The Cadillac Modern Encyclopedia, page 822, states, and I quote, Khazars, Russian people of Turkic origin, who at the height of their power during the 8th and 10th century AD controlled an empire which included Crimea, Crimea, and extended along the lower Volga as far east as the Caspian Sea, Caspian, Moors. The Khazarian royal family and their king converted to Judaism during the reign of King Bulan, B-U-L-A-N, in 768 and 809 AD, Moors. And Judaism was thereafter regarded as the state religion. Are we going to connect the dots? Let's see. I'm going to give you some more because I got a couple more before we get into the lecture. The Jewish author, Arthur Kozler. Come on, man. Y'all got to know this science. I'm going to give you the name. Arthurkoestler. Research his book. Relates the following concerning Jewish history. In his 1976 bestseller, The 13th Tribe. Listen to this, Moors. The author of The Darkness at Noon, Promise and Fulfillment, and the Roots of Coincidence dropped another bombshell by proving that today's Jews were, for the most part, descendants of Khazars who converted to Judaism 7 centuries after the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. This, of course, is inspired by the story of the covenant in Genesis, and it implies that the Khazars too claim the status of a chosen race who made their own covenant with the Lord per se, even though they, the Khazars, were not descended from Abraham's seed. He cannot and does not claim for them the Khazars' Semitic descent. He traces their, which are the Khazars' ancestry, not to Shem, but to Noah's third son, Japhet, or more precisely, to Japhet's grandson. Come on, man. We just connect the dots, man. Remove your religious feeling. Who? The grandson? Togarma. Togarma. The ancestor of all Turkish tribes. Togarma. We have found in the family registers of our fathers. Joseph asserts boldly that Togarma had 10 sons, and the names of their offspring are as follows. Uigur, Uigur, Dursu, Dursu. Look this stuff up, Moors. Avars, Avars, Huns, Huns, Basili, or Basili, Basill, Basili, Tarnak, Tarniakh, Khazars, Khazars, Zagora, Zagora, Bulgars, 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 Sabir, or Sabir, Sabir. So we, when I say we, I'm talking about the Khazars, are the sons of Khazar, the 7th, the 13th tribe, Arthur Khazar, or Kozler. You can cross-reference that on his pages 58 and 52. This is their pen, Moors. That's why when I be laughing and I be seeing a Hebrew Israelite arguing, and then I see Moors doing the same thing, I say, man, don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into that trap. You want more? Here go the author, the Jewish author, Alfred M. Linthal. Alfred M. Linthal. Alfred M. Linthal relates the following concerning Jewish history. The existence of the state of Israel is not founded on logic. It has no ordinary legitimacy. There is neither in its establishment nor presence, scope, any evidence, justice, though there may be an other need and wondrous fulfillment. This their pen now. This not me. Arthur Kozler answers the question with an emphatic no in his 1976 bestseller, The 13th Tribe. The author of Darkness at Noon, Promise and Fulfillment, and the Roots of Coincidence drop another bombshell. Prove that today Jews were, for the most part, descendants of the, I told you, Khazars. So, oh, snap, hold on. Why did it do that? Oh, Moors. It just jumped me right out of that. Oh, that's messed up. But let me get back in. I'm finna give you this history about that. It was like, man, I want you to tell them that. And then we go to the next one. Yeah, it's things that they made up. When I tell brothers and sisters, they made things up to keep you from not saying things, or to keep us just in the wrong dispensation. So let me open this back up, because it kind of kicked me out for some strange reason. And I'm going to give you the end of that part, and then we're going to go to the next, because we about to build these bridges, man. We have to. And I say, we in school, man, and you should be willing to be in school. You should be willing to be in school. Okay, let me give you this one. All right, so let me get to the end of this, So if you had your pens, you could have been right. You should have been writing that stuff down. So I'm going to jump all the way to the bottom. Then I'm going to go to the next part. Now, oh no, I got to give you this. Because this is the major part. Oh man, this is the major part. All right, Moors. Thus maintains Khazars, the veins of the 45% of Israelis, save only the Arab and the Sephardic Jews, plus a big majority of Jews around the world, are utterly vacant of the linkage to the tribe of Moses and Solomon. Khazars' thesis, however startling, is in no wise a new one. The genetic Khazar derivation of most Jews, only the Sephardic, may be accounted Hebrews by blood, has been long, if not widely known. The home to which Wiseman, Silver, Ben Gurion, and so many other Ashkenazi Zionists have long yearned to return has most likely never been theirs, Moors. It's an anthropological fact. Many so-called Christians may have much more Hebrew Israelite blood in their veins than most of their Jewish neighbors. And we just connecting dots, man, Moors. So let's finish. Ironically enough, too, volume in volume 8 of the Jewish Encyclopedia, as of the time of research in 1952, because of this publication, spelled Khazars with a C instead of a K. It's titled Khazars of Dreyfus. Khazars of Dreyfus. And it was the famed trial of Captain Alfred Dreyfus, as interpreted by Theodore Herzl, that made the modern Jewish Khazars of Russia forget their descent from converts to Judaism to establish the state of Israel. I showed you the history how we already had the flag. This is 1928. This is New York. You see that both flags back there? No reason to argue. So, and without the hue and cry, Moors, anti-Semitism. Pray what happens to the Zionist movement. Khazar conversion was not unique. Who can say for sure that many Christian readers of this book or this history might not in fact have a better claim, which they do not choose to exercise, to go back home to Palestine than Hannah Simmer, McCammon, Bejan, or Golda, or Golda Meir. Queen Victoria herself belonged to an Israelite society that traced the ancestry of its members back to the lost tribes of Israel. I'm just doing the research. When the word Judaism was born, there was no longer a Hebrew Israelite state. The people who embraced the creed of Judaism were already a mixture of many nations, races, and strains, and this diversification was rapidly growing. You can research this in the Zionist Connection. Part 2, Alfred M. Linthal, page 759 and 768. Anti-Semitism. The word anti-Semitism was an invention. Yes, I said it. See, this scholarship. And when you get a scholarship, you don't come from no religious side. I say it again. Anti-Semitism. The word anti-Semitism was an invention by who? H. Bisham. In a New York address, October 30th, November 1st, 1937. Research it. H. In a New York address, October 30th, November 1st, 1937. Research it, Moors. In 1848, the word anti-Semitic was invented by the Jews to prevent the use of the word Jew, which is the right word for them. It's Jew. Come on, Moors. Come on, man. Remove the veil. Remove the veil. We in school. I'm going to give you one. Okay, I gave you this. I think I gave you all this. They told you who they were. They pinned. Let me see. I gave you that. Yep, I gave you that. Okay. So, I think that's even enough on that history. Because that's enough. You should understand what I'm saying. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, you're never going to get it. Their pens say who they are. Oh, no, I know what I want to show you. When they tell you that they're Edom, that's what I want you. That's what I want to show you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Moors. Let me show you that part real fast, and then we'll jump to this. Because this is necessary, and I apologize. It's necessary. We almost done, too. And then we jumping right into this lecture. Come on. I said, we in school, man. And you can research this. Let's see if this is the one that I want to touch on. If it's not, it's this next one. Be it. Come on, baby. Oh, yeah. Here we go. All right, Moors, y'all ready for this? Listen to this. Get your pens. Here go the book. Here go their pen. Their pen. Listen. You ready? Well, let me make this bigger so I can see. Edom is in modern Jewry. The Jewish Encyclopedia, 1925 edition, volume 5, page 41. Listen, Moors. The Edomites were conquered by John Hyrcanus, Hyrcanus, who forcibly converted them to Judaism, and from then on they constituted a part of the Jewish people, Herod being one of their descendants. That's in the Standard Jewish Encyclopedia, Garden City, New York, 1966, page 594. Also, the Newer Standard Jewish Encyclopedia, Garden City, 1977. From this time, the Edomeans, the Idumeans, became an inseparable part of the Jewish people. That's in the Encyclopedia Judaic Jerusalem, in volume 8, page 11, in 1147. Page 1147. When years before, John Hyrcanus had forced Judaism on the Edomites. But the part I want to give you, hold on, let me see. Okay, that's one part. Let me get to the other one. Here we go. And then we get to the message. I think this is right here, Morris. I might have gave it both. I might have gave you the same one. Let me see. Okay, yep, that's that one. All right, it must be this one then. If not, I gave it to you. It's the same one. Okay, it's the same one. But they tell you that they are not Israelites, and they are Edom. And you can find it in their pen. Nothing to argue about. No one to argue with. So my whole thing is with us as a people. And I see brothers debating the so-called Afrocentric groups, Kemetic groups, and all these Hebrew Israelites, Islamic groups, blah, blah, so-called black Indians, all this. But what is the disagreement? What is the disagreement? What is the disagreement? Y'all heard me? So let's touch on this. Let's touch. The disagreement is the lack of knowing global history. The disagreement is the lack of knowing global history, nationality, pre-slavery history, and blood lineage, Moors. The difference between an Afrocentric and a Moorish American is that an individual who claims to be a so-called black Afro-American claims to be from the reign or the region known as Africa today and calls that specific continent their own. That's what you say, right? Yet they cannot tell you what country, what region, what flag, what tribe, what blood, what lineage of Africa, of the East they belong. Huh? Come on, Moors. They mostly mention Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, and maybe a North African or West African country. But us as Moors Americans, we see the entire eastern part of the world as northeastern and southeastern Africa, or a maximum, and the entire western part of the planet as northwest and southwest Africa, or a maximum. Are you following me, Moors? Come on, man. So for myself, as a Moorish, and from a Moorish perspective, the Americas, is ancient Amexima. And the West Hemisphere is where the Moors, the Moabites, inhabited before the continental shift break. Moors, we got to remember that black is an adjective, not a nationality or blood lineage. Black is also a second-class citizen status, category by law, since there is no such thing as a black or white person on earth, Moors. Read about what black status is by going to what a second-class citizen is. Moors, we have to do things. When I say my expertise, I'm getting a doctorate in indigenous people law and policy. We must understand who we are. Afro-American, African-American, West Indian, Negro, colored, etc. are also false nationalities. Moorish American satisfies just solely. Did you hear what I said? Moorish American satisfies just solely or just solely. J-U-S-S-O-L-I. That's 2 words. And just Sanjunis. J-U-S-S-A-N-J-U-I-N-I-S. That's your homework, Moors. You have to know what those 2 things are. If you don't want to do the research, I will give you a whole history lesson on what those 2 are. Just solely, J-U-S-S-O-L-I, and just Sanjunis, J-U-S-S-A-N-J-U-I-N-I-S. Come on, Moors. I know you know what I'm talking about. If you're a Moorish American, you should know this stuff. You got to research those 2 terms in law. When I say in law, when brother be getting all butthurt about, black this, I say, man, listen, I don't care how you feel. I'm talking about in law. Black, it don't mean nothing. It's not a nationality. And you steady rolling with it. You don't got to listen to me. Many folks speak about doing blood tests and genealogy tests. I see people doing that stupid stuff. However, the oldest blood type in the world is the O type, Moors, where all blood types come from. The O type is the indigenous to the Americas and Australia, Moors. Therefore, everyone on the planet should be doing a blood test to see if they are related to the ancient ones in the Americas, the North Central, South America, the Caribbean islands, Alaska, Canada, the Greenland, etc. Ain't nothing to argue about. In the Moorish perspective of history, Moors, the Egyptians were the Moors, the Moabite relatives. So the Moors and the Egyptians always shared a family tie. In the history of the Moors and the Moabites and the Egyptians shared many unions and wars. Moors, when I tell y'all, when I tell you about the ancient rite of Memphis and Mizraim, what do you think Mizraim is in Hebrew? Egypt. Are you tripping? What is our diet, Moors? Come on, man. The Hebrew diet. Are y'all tripping? In history, the Moors, the Moabites, and Egyptians share many unions and wars, just like we as families do. But was still a family tie was known. The father of the Moorish movement, who, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was an Egyptian adept and returned many Egyptian mystery system keys back to the Moorish Americans. Are you listening, Moors? Are you listening, Moors? He began those Egyptian adapt lessons with the many ways. What I say? When Moors be say they Moors, this our adapt manual. I have them. We have something from the prophet. This is the adapt manual. I don't know what people be talking about. But he began the Egyptian adapt lessons with the many ways of teaching us about knowing thyself. Ancient Egypt also started in the Americas, then spread to the eastern part of the world and northeast Africa or Amexima of today. The oldest ancient Egyptian pyramids, mummies, and ruins are also here in the Americas. Don't y'all know in the Grand Canyon they found all these artifacts of these pharaohs, all these gold monuments and things, Moors, a long time ago. Research this. The secondary ones are in the east. You're right, it's right here in America. The secondary are the ones in the east, Moors. When it comes to the Hebrew Israelite and the Moorish Americans, there should be no debate, Moors. Do you hear me? I will say this again. When it comes to the Hebrew Israelite and the Moorish Americans, there should be no debate. Moors, Moabites are Hebrews. Moabites were Hebrews before Jacob and the 12 tribes. Don't y'all know that, Moors? What you mean, Brother Bay? For example, Abraham is the 6th generation Hebrew. The Moabites are the 8th generation Hebrew. Research Eber. What you mean, Brother Bay? And the children of Eber. Hold your horses. See, we gonna do research. We don't get into spookism, what somebody said, because they got a fez on. Here go to Webster's 1828 dictionary. It tells you what American is in here. American, a noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europe, or Europeans born in America. Now, let me show you this. We're going to do research. I just gave you, for example, Abraham is a 6th generation Hebrew. The Moabites are the 8th generation Hebrews. Research Eber and the children of Eber. Okay? We're about to do that. We're about to do the research. When I tell Moors, you got to be willing to do the research. If you're not willing to do the research, you can't teach nobody nothing. Excuse me. You should be willing to take the time to teach your people. Not speed over something for they can't get it. And not give them the information where they can't have it for themselves. I'm tripping, y'all. My bad. I'm looking in the wrong. My mind, I'm so far into so many places. I am so sorry. It's in here. Now watch this. 1828 dictionary. Listen, when I tell you Hebrew is an English word, my Hebrew Israelite brothers, and when you say you're Hebrew Israelite, you're using the King James Version, why you're not using the Hebrew Bible? Why you're not using the Holy Name Bible? So, Hebrew, noun, one of the descendants of Eber or Heber, but particularly a descendant of Jacob, who was a descendant of Eber, an Israelite, a Jew. I got that in blue. I don't know if you can see it. I mean, man, their pen tell you so much. When we talk about Hellenistic, when I talk about Alexander the Greek, and when Alexander the Greek traveled to Egypt, when he created a European pharaoh by force, who Serapis Christos, that's the Antichrist, that's the replacement. What you mean? They write about it. Watch this. Hellenin, or Hellenistic, or Hellenin, adjective pertaining to the Hellenists, or inhabitants of Greece, so-called from Hellenes in Greece, or from Hellenin. Hellenism, a noun, a phrase in an idiom, genius, or a construction of the Greek language. What? Hellenistic, or Hellenist, a noun, a Grecian Jew, a Jew who used the Greek language. What? One skilled in the Greek language. What? Hellenistic, adjective, pertaining to the Hellenist. The Hellenistic language was the Greek spoken or used by the Jews who lived in Egypt and other countries where the Greek language prevailed. What? Hellenistically, an adverb according to the Hellenistic dialect. That's their language. What? Hellenize. Verb, to use the Greek language. Hellespont, a noun, a narrow strait between Europe and Asia, now called the Dardanelles, a part of the passage between the Euxine and the Aegean Sea. That's how Alexander the Greek got to Egypt. Hellespont, pertaining to Hellespont. Hellish, adjective, pertaining to hell. I mean, you ain't got to listen to me. So let's get back to what we was connecting the dots. So when it comes to the Hebrew Israelite and the Moorish Americans, when it comes to the Hebrewites and the Moorish Americans, there should be no debate. Moors, Moabites are Hebrews. Moabites were Hebrews before Jacob and the son and the 12 tribes. For example, Abraham is the 6th generation Hebrew. The Moabites are the 8th generation Hebrews. I just gave you in the 1828 dictionary. I just gave it to you. Research it again. Research Eber and the children of Eber. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was also a Hebrew prophet. The Moorish Holy Quran mentions Hebrew a few times. In the secret brotherhood, in the Brotherhood of the East, it tells you that it tells you that the pantheon of God, I'll read it for you. Jesus, which is Yahshua, received the mystic name and number and passed the first brotherhood test. The circle is the symbol of the perfect man, and the 7 is the number of the perfect man. The logos is the perfect word, that which creates, that which destroys, and that which saves. The Hebrew master is the logos of the Holy One, and the circle of human race, the 7 of time. And in the book, and in the record book, the scribe wrote down the logos, circle 7, and thus was Jesus known, or Yahshua known. The master said, the logos will give heed to what I say. No man can enter into the light till he has found himself. Go forth and search till ye have found your soul, then return. Moors, I can show you in the circle 7 Quran where it tells you that we say Allah, that is intercession to the pantheon of gods. It's in our circle 7 Quran. You ain't got to listen to nothing I'm saying. The Moorish Holy Quran mentions Hebrew a few times, like I said, and the science is shown in our Moorish 101 questionnaire, which is why the Moorish Science Temple, the divine and national movement of North America, the Moorish American National Republic, it pushes the ancient Hebrew laws that deal with freedom, birthrights, and nationality in constitutional law, and why Moors are Hebrew Muslims of Moorish descent by nature. Moors, what do you think our diet is? What do you think our diet is? Y'all know it's the Hebrew diet? Y'all know this. Moorish Americans, we have a religion called Islamism. Our prophet, which is Noble Drew Ali, brought a distinct form of Islam. A distinct form of Islam. That means peculiar, special, different, known as Islamism. The science of peace. The science of peace. Not no Al-Islam. Moors have their own holy book. This is our holy book. This is our holy book. The Moorish Holy Quran. However, we use the Quran of Muhammad as well as the Bible. Moors, the Quran itself shows that a prophet is brought up amongst the people, amongst their own. So no Islamic group should have a problem with what we're talking about. Also check the fact, Moors, that our prophet in the flesh, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, came on the scene in 1913 in America teaching Islamism. So anyone in other Islamic groups would just need to know what perspective a Moorish American is coming from. I said a Moorish American. I ain't say no more. I ain't say no Moorish, a Muslim, M-U-S-L-I-M. I said a Moorish American is coming from, which is why we deal with Islamism, the old time religion, and we are Muslims, M-O-S-L-E-M-S, not Muslims. Y'all know this, Moors. Y'all know this. So-called black Indians, indigenous natives, are confusing tribal kingdom, national, and empire points of view when we disagree with Moorish Americans. The founder of the Moorish movement was a Cherokee Moor. Don't y'all know this? When I talk about the Washita Moors, our empress, come on, don't y'all know that she was a Moor? You have to set things right. We are Moors. Connect the dots, man. I give you the research. The founder of the Moorish movement was a Cherokee Moor. Our empress was a Washita Moor. In America, that's what Christopher Columbus stumbled upon. Come on. The Moors, Indian, when you just do the linguistics, when you do the etymology, when you break it down etymologically and linguistically, that Indi, you know what that means. That means a color. Just like you, in human, it means something. So what I'm saying, the founder of the Moorish movement was a Cherokee Moor. He did not erase his Cherokee roots. What temple telling you to erase your roots? None. When you get in the Moorish Science Temple, what's supposed to happen is supposed to strengthen it by proclaiming your Moorish nationality. Anyone who has American tribal ties will keep their tribal ties, Moors. That's why I tell you, when you look at the national movement, no one are giving up or giving up their tribal ties. It's strengthened it by proclaiming your Moorish nationality. And anyone who has American tribal ties will keep their tribal ties. For no one can erase anyone's ancestral ties. Moors, nationality, jurisdiction, and political status is what is needed to be learned and understood within the current government construct. All the so-called Native American, the Indian tribes, have a Moorish or a Moabite connection anyway, Moors. The Moorish, the Moabite history in America goes back before the continent split apart. These are just the basics to show that education, Moors, or re-education is needed to understand what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought and what is being demonstrated by the learned and properly guided Moorish Americans who know that we have more in common with all the conscious groups and organizations than differences. Noble Drew Ali came and tied all the African, the Kemetic Egyptian, the Hebrew, and the Islamic connections all in one, Moors, because it began as one. Today we are scattered and debating amongst one another. Pieces of the same puzzle, Moors. As I stated earlier, it is just a lack of knowing global history, Moors, nationality, pre-slavery history, and blood lineage. And Moors, this is just a general breakdown. This is just a general breakdown. When I tell you we must study, we have a whole history. I love you all. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, and wealth. Peace.